Hey, this is Luke. Welcome back to Leicester City Down Under. Today we are joined by none other than Dave.
Morning,
How are you, mate?
afternoon, good evening. Is
So,
it is it
couple of
raining or
days.
snowing?
No, it's not, mate. It's starting to cool down, thank God. I've been sick of these 40-degree days. It was a
Yeah,
nice, cool 28 today. A wee bit of a breeze.
brilliant. I heard it rained at the weekend, did it?
It did, mate. Rain out of
Yeah,
nowhere. Yeah, it did.
yeah.
Rain out of nowhere. What was I gonna say? How are we feeling? Have we all calmed down from the Leeds game, or?
Yeah. I'm still pissed off with the referee, but apart from that, I've calmed down. Yeah, yeah. It's
I
just a
don't.
game.
It's just a game. I may have gotten a bit excited after the game, but that's what happens. Football's an emotional sport, but at the end of the day,
Yeah,
it's just a game. As you said, Leeds, you took your chances. We didn't. Credit to you. You won. We move on 6 points in front. Let's hope to hold on to that lead. Um, the ref
I
was
think,
shocking, but I'm not in the camp of him costing us the game. I don't blame the ref. The ref didn't make Mavididi and Daka miss sitters. All I'll say is I can kind of understand why that linesman called it, and there's no VAR. But that yellow card on Ricardo was like complete bullshit. We all know that. That was like tackle of the season for him.
yeah. I mean, we saw it straight away, didn't we? How could he miss that and book him? I mean, there was some worse tackles went in without a booking.
I don't know. You got to be
Don't
consistent.
get me on that.
It was a good bring back VAR. You reckon?
No, no, bring back
No.
proper referees.
Yeah, fair enough. When VAR goes your way, it's the best, but when it doesn't, it's rubbish. Get rid of it.
Well, you and me both, I think, would get rid of it anyway, because football is about those decisions, but not decisions like that. It's about marginal offsides and maybe handballs. It's not about a really good tackle that gets a booking and could have cost him a suspension if he'd have had four. I mean, that's the thing they don't see. And the
That's a
goal,
good question.
Yeah, he'd have been
Because he
suspended.
wasn't a fair. I think he. Hey, yeah, we'll touch on Yannick later because he's suspended for 2 games now. But as for Ricardo, I'm pretty sure he served him 1 match suspension before, so I think he's on 6 or 7. He's in that neighborhood of like having to be careful. Him and Winks, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, and it's so stupid, and they can't overturn a yellow card. I mean, why not? What is it? A criminal offence? What's the difference between a yellow and a red? A red you
I
get off the pitch, but a yellow can cost you being off the pitch. I mean, oh, I don't.
I don't know, to be honest with you, and I don't even want to think about these blue cards we keep hearing about. That's a whole other
Oh,
story.
for God's sake! Why can't they leave our game alone? Eh? It's
Don't
perfectly
know.
fine.
I to be fair, the start of the season, I didn't mind the refereeing. I thought it was like what I liked about it was like I thought the games were a lot more physical compared to the Premier League. Like a lot more was left to go on. You know what I mean? Like not rolling around on the ground, like get stuck in some decent challenges. But like the
Yeah.
last month, it's I don't know why it's just not been up to the same standard, or maybe things have been as favourable as it seems that
No.
way. I'm not
Tell
sure.
you, tell you what it is, Luke. We've got Premier League referees coming down. I mean, that was the problem. That Leeds Leicester was a massive game, probably the biggest game this season in the Championship. So they put Craig Pawson in charge because he's a Premier League referee. He just showed how lazy he is and how incompetent because he relies on VAR most of the time. So it's like cricket. The umpires got lazy when they brought in these no ball cameras and you could appeal and all that, and they seem to lose their edge. And to be honest, he was useless. I mean, we might as well have had a robot refereeing from the stand. It was that bad. Um, so I think that's the reason the VAR has reduced the quality of refereeing standards. I could be wrong, but that's my opinion.
No, that's a
Probably.
decent point. That's a very decent point, and something else to say to that. And while we're talking about it, is whenever they go to they do a VAR check, and the ref goes to the side to that screen, and he has another look before he makes his final decision, and you've got the fans like screaming right there, like how hard is it going to be to concentrate and like not be kind of swayed by the crowd, you know what I mean, to like influence
Yeah,
to a decision, so to speak. It must be a lot of pressure, but still, it
yeah,
defeats the purpose. I know exactly what you're saying. Like it's a bit of a crutch to be able to rely on that. But
yeah, it is. But also, players are not supposed to be within 20 yards of him when he's doing it. Now, I've been noticing in a lot of games, players are pretty close to the referee when he's looking at the screen. I've seen that more and more now, and that shouldn't happen. I don't know who keeps them away or supposed to, but they don't keep away. Now, do they book them? No, they just let them get away with it, and they're in his ear while he's watching it. So yeah, you're right. A lot of pressure.
yep,
I mean, they're only human beings, aren't they? To be fair, and unless they make real serious mistakes like he did against Leeds, then you let them off because they're human. And it isn't the easiest thing to do, referee a football match, but simple things you'd expect them to get right, especially when we
yeah.
can see it straight away. Was it the Man United game last year? There's one leg breaking tackle that wasn't even punished with a
Oh,
card.
I remember that
It was
now.
on.
You just
Yeah,
yes. I'm
I
trying to
mean,
remember
it
who it
wasn't
was. I
even.
remember that.
Yeah, and the things like that happen all the time. They get away with it, and I know everyone calls that for consistency, but you've got different humans refereeing the games. You can't be consistent. It should be consistent with the rules. You can't be
Yeah.
consistent with the way they're swayed or the way they react to an incident. Uh, but he should have said after the game when looking at it, "I'm sorry, that's a mistake. Let's wipe it off." Um,
I think once they've made a decision, they've got to stick with it, don't they? Craig, how
yeah,
are you, mate? He reckons they're trying to get rid of the slide tackles. I
well,
hope
they
not, because I
shouldn't.
love them.
The
Keep
slide
it in.
tackle was one of. We had a fullback, Peter Rodriguez, many years ago. He was probably the greatest slide tackler ever, but he never took the man. He always got the ball, and there's a big difference between that. Um, and if you go in now with intent, I don't know what intent to do, harm the player or get the ball, but that's when they deem it to be dangerous with studs up, and that never used to happen unless, of course, Graham Souness wanted to do you, and then that was a different ball game, or Roy Keane decided that he didn't like you. But sliding tackles were great fun, especially in the wet.
Yeah, they're the best, especially when they line them up. And you know what? Speaking of slide, Yannick that first half made some belter, like well
Yeah,
times sliding tackles himself. I think the end of that second half, he was caught out, particularly of his pace. That's one.
yeah,
I'll let it go after that. But one thing I have to say about Yannick is he's brilliant when he's afforded time on the ball. Now, a lot of the teams that have come and played us or we've gone away to have parked a bus, and I expect QPR to do that. We'll talk about that again later as well. But for Yannick, when he's allowed an afforded time on the ball, he looks excellent, and his ball distribution is beautiful, right? But there was one point that first goal they scored, he went out for a challenge, right? Now, granted, like FaZe and everyone was back behind him, but still, when he tracked back to try and get back, it just looks completely almost comical the way he runs. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just, it's just yeah, he got the turning circle on Mack truck as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think we've got a bit of a problem when we're. I mean, I thought we defended pretty well at times, but there are times when we don't put our bodies on the line, and FaZe is a bit like that. I mean, he turns his back and puts his hands behind his back because of the handball thing. Well, don't, because that's not natural, is it? Having your hands behind your back. I mean, if it hits your arm when you've got them behind your back, I'd say that's a penalty. I know it's not because it's near the body, but it's not natural. So they've got to decide whether they want hands in an unnatural position or whether they're trying to handball. So I reckon if a player's sliding in and his arm comes up, that's not trying to handle the ball because that's natural when you're sliding in. And when you're blocking, if you're blocking that for your face, it's not handball, but you'll give a penalty away every time. So that's not clear. But we do bottle it a bit when we should go out there and put our nuts on the line and just block the ball. AKA John Terry, I mean, he was a classic at that, as much as you might hate him. But I mean, he was brilliant at doing that. But we haven't
Yeah.
got anybody. I think Yannick was actually the closest to doing it on Monday or Friday or whatever the hell it was. Um, so, yeah, we're not good at that.
No, unfortunately, it's something that
Walshy
definitely
would
needs
do
to.
it. Walshy, Matt Elliott, all that lot, Jerry Taggart, they'd all get in there and make sure the ball didn't get any further past them. But I think we're lacking on that a little bit at the moment.
We are, but it's a funny one, see, because we do play a possession-based football, and if we just lump it forward, we're going to continue to invite wave after wave of pressure, especially particularly of how Leeds play. So it's like, in the end of the game, do we sit back and do that, or do we still try and play it the way we do? Now, there's a time and place though to play it out from the back, and like times like that are not it. So there's like a bit of there needs to be a little bit of a middle ground in terms of game management, but it is a tricky one. But look, let's move on from Leeds, mate. What I want to ask you, Dave, is FA Cup. Usually, I love an FA Cup run, but now that the lead we are 6 points clear.
Yeah.
That seems a lot smaller than what it was coming out of the Christmas break. So for now, I would have loved it before, but because I've had 2 losses and Enzo coming out saying we could see it a complete 11-man change, I am expecting heavy changes, maybe not 11 people, but with the amount of games we play in the Championship, Dave, this is not time to be going deep when we need to. Our priority should be securing first or second.
Yeah, it should be both. I still think we need to give the FA Cup a good go, but I do think he's got to change players and rest them. And that's what he'd do anyway. If we hadn't lost 2 on the bounce, he'd have done the same. And that's the way football is now. Players can't play too many matches on billiard table pitches. It's pathetic, really. But that's being old again. I think the players should be able to play. I think the training is more intense now than it's ever been. So I think that's the problem. Vardy got injured in training, didn't he? With Vardy, I'd have been letting him off training or just have a kick about because he's got games that we need him to play.
Definitely, he's sorely missed, and I think Vardy's is injured. I believe McAteer is now injured, and Braybook as well. They just can't get a decent stroke of luck to the lad.
No, I don't know what with McAteer. That seems a bit weird from what I've heard. It's not his old injury or anything. It's not hamstring or anything like that. It's something else. They don't seem to know what it is.
No, I don't think they've. I'm not sure if they've come out and said. But did I say Braybook or did I say Alves? Will Alves. I keep getting
Alves,
that name. Alves, yeah, I believe he's out. But look,
I've not heard anything anyway about what it is. But then,
neither have I. I believe. I can't even. I'm gonna have to look that up. But it is a good chance to see some rotations for the young fellas. But also, like this is. I would expect Cody, and I'll get into my starting 11 shortly. But I would expect Cody to be starting this regardless. But with Yannick being injured, suspended now for 2 games, Dave, that's going to be 3 potential games for Connor Cody to get a run. And this is his chance. I feel like it's now or never. And we have been seeing Nelson being picked ahead of him, but with how that game and how we capitulated at the end against Leeds, and we all thought that Connor Cody was a good shout to be captain possibly, and like he was going to be what a buy he was and how fast he was, and I honestly thought Yannick's made himself undroppable, but in my opinion that wouldn't have been the game against Leeds in that last 10, 15, 20 minutes or whatever to be putting Nelson in, because you saw when McAteer come on, he just the crowd got to him at Ellen Road, you could see it, and he doesn't look good on the left side in my opinion. He hasn't hit his form at all really since he's come back from that injury, but in terms of experience, Cody is going to be that leader that's going to galvanize everyone at the back and keep everyone, organized. And I think this is his chance. It's now or never for him.
Yeah, because I think Winks is having to do that, isn't he, from midfield? Which, it's not quite the way it should work. Because there's nobody really at the back demanding, the action or demanding commitment. And I think it needs somebody that could scare those back 3, whoever they play with, to make it work. And it's so wrong when a midfielder, I know he's a strong guy in the middle, but that has to look after the back 4 as well as the midfield and the forwards, and concentrate on his own game. Interesting about Vestergaard. Would he play him because he can play tonight, but then 2 games out? But would you play him tonight because he is out for 2 games?
Oh, Craig, I didn't even know that. And Dave, I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
it doesn't count for the FA Cup. If it was a straight red, I think he'd be banned from the FA Cup. But because it's 2 yellows, he can play tonight. But would you play him because he's not going to be playing in the next 2 league games? Don't
To
know.
be honest,
Interesting.
well, let's get into it. Let's pull up my starting 11. I think here we go. Let's pull this up now. Let me know if you can see that. All right, it's not as my usual. I wasn't able to use what I usually use because a
Yeah,
lot
I've
of the
got it.
young fellas. Okay, so let's start with the goalkeeper. I am expecting to see Stolarczyk. I think Stolarczyk has been a really good shot stopper. I think he had a tremendous amount of saves, I believe, in that Birmingham game. He was an absolute weapon. I don't think his ball distribution is as good as Mads Hermansen, but mate, as a shot stopper in the championship, he is not a bad shout for a number 2. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. I was just
Now,
interested to see who you've got in midfield.
okay, this one is I'm a bit confused with. I'll work my way up. So I've gone for Nelson the right side. Connor Cody, they're going to what you were just asking me with Yannick. We could play Yannick, but if Cody's going to be playing if we're assuming Cody's playing and it's not Nelson, I think it will be because I don't think Wout Faes can play that middle role. He's done it, but when he makes those roving runs forward, which he can be effective and also a liability with, I don't think Nelson can be as good as our system on the ball. So for that reason, I think it will be Cody, and I think let's give him a game now before we come against QPR, which is now an important game. So I've gone for Cody. Doyle, I think is going to be waiting for a run in, but JJ's has been playing brilliant. So I've gone for Doyle as our left centre back. Now, Cover in that role, kind of that Ricardo role, had what a beautiful ball in his last game to Vardy, and he is a young fella, and you have to give Pereira a rest, mate. And I can see
Yeah.
Cover possibly playing that role. And for Chowdhury, I can't think of anyone that can do the Winks role. Now, I'm not saying Chowdhury can do it, but I would expect he's still got a lot more experience than a lot of the youngsters that could possibly do that role. So that's a real asterisk for me, that one, Dave.
I thought Chowdhury had a great game against Leeds. Before the game, we were nervous about it, weren't we? And
Yeah,
I
we
thought
were.
Jimmy Somerville would take him out, but he played brilliant. So yeah, I mean he's becoming more mature. I think every game, and he's becoming more. I think Enzo gave him the captaincy, didn't he, early on for a game or 2, and I think that's kind of calmed him down a bit and made him more responsible. And to see him pulling players away from a potential situation was just staggering to me. He'd be the first in there. So yeah, brilliant.
That was really brilliant to see, actually, mate. That was
Yeah,
a good pick of yours. You brought that up on LTID TV. Now I can see Pratt going back to that right hand side 8. Now I think Pratt in conjunction with Eunice Atkin, who I thought it's a shame we haven't seen more of him, but he was brought in as a right winger. Fatawu's made himself undroppable, and then they had McAteer in front of him. So I don't think we're going to sign him, but I think this is a brilliant game to use Eunice. I think he looks better on that side, where Dewsbury Hall usually plays, who also sorely needs a rest.
yeah,
And I've gone for Marcel as a left winger who had that brilliant preseason game, not preseason. I can't remember which game it was that he scored that absolute rocket, but
yeah.
he
No,
he hasn't really been the same since, and he's left Doyle exposed a few times. But I am expecting him to get a start. And then we've got our favourite, Mr. Albrighton, always reliable, has always put a shift in every time I've asked him this season. I think it's a shame we haven't seen him play more because I think every time he's been asked to step up, he has not put a foot wrong, Dave.
no, you're right. He's great down there. He's reliable. Um, and him and Vardy up front, because Vardy knows where he's going, where the ball's going, and what to do with it. But Cannon, I think if he can play that striking role, because he seems to be deeper when he's played last few games. I don't know why. But
I
yeah,
think that's what. Go on.
yeah. Iniacho fit?
He's back, but we haven't seen him on the bench since he's come back from AFCON, and I
No,
think because he hasn't put pen to paper. Otherwise, I would have gone for Kalechi, mate, because I think that he's always done well in the FA Cup. He loves an FA Cup goal, and he's always. I think he'd be a lot more experienced, but I think for Cannon, who's obviously our future with the years we've put on his signing, I think he needs to start, and he has been playing deeper, but like so is Vardy drops a lot deeper. Kalechi drops deeper. Daka actually had some decent link-up play in our last game against Leeds. He put a ball on a plate for Mavididi, and Mavididi actually had a decent shot on goal. I think this was the first half, and the keeper actually, to be fair, made a cracking save. So
yeah.
I think that's just the way Enzo wants our strikers to play, Dave.
I don't know. I still love two up front, but that's never going to happen, is it? When it did, it didn't work. What
Gone
do
are
I
the
know?
days of 4-4-2, Dave.
I know. England will play in 4-4-2. Yeah, there's a lot of potential there, isn't there? And I think the point is that we shouldn't see this as are we good enough for the Premier League? Because I'm sure Bournemouth will change it around as well. At least you'd think they would. Um, and we would probably have a completely different squad next year. Who knows? So
I am expecting,
it's
yeah.
not a test, is it? Not a test, really. It's just a game. It's the FA Cup. We want to win it. We want to get to Wembley, but if we don't and we get promoted, then just don't be so greedy. Just go with it. I
That's
just
it,
fancy
mate.
go. I just want to go to Wembley before I die. I couldn't go to the last one because it was COVID. I want to go there and see us win again. So
Oh, mate, that would be brilliant. I'll never, ever forget. I think I celebrated more when the Chilwell's goal got ruled offside. That was when, yeah, VAR, they totally got that right. Don't take it
yeah,
away. The one instance they got it right. But Bournemouth, mate, actually, I'll pull up their form. I'm just looking at it here. Just get rid of this, pull that, and what I'll do is here. Let's have a look here. Stop screen. Bournemouth, mate, have actually had a decent bit of form here. I'm just going to pull up their games here. Give me 1 second.
they seem to go in and out, don't they? Where they have a good run, then they have a bad run, and then they come back again. But it's. I think form goes out the window with these sort of games because everybody will play their reserves. It seems to be said, although I don't know. I think it's probably. Yeah, I'm lost for words to be honest because I want to win the FA Cup and
Yes.
I want our best players to play down at Bournemouth, but I know it's not a sensible thing to do because if somebody gets injured, we miss them for 3 or 4 league games, important league games. It makes sense to rest them. I don't necessarily agree with the fact they're tired because that's absolute nonsense. But uh, these are 20-year-old youngsters. Yeah, I think they did, Craig. They murdered them, didn't they? Mind you, Swansea were crap then, weren't they? To be fair, but
It is I mate, I would absolutely expect as well that Bournemouth would not go strong, but could be right. Is Craig, is this the same Craig that goes on Chris's channel? Was it a different Craig?
he'd be at work.
He would he? Okay, no worries. Strikes for Bournemouth are very quick. Uh oof, mate, they've been decent to be fair this season. Like I know they're sitting, I think it's 13 or 14th, but I think they've been all right to be and I would have looked if we
See,
had won the last 2 games, and I would have been like, yep, because we were having this conversation last time you were on, Dave. It was like, you know what, like we absolutely have the right to dare to dream after the Premier League win we had, instead of the FA Cup. But now we've had those 2 losses, and it's only 6 point gap. I'm a little bit more apprehensive, and I do expect a lot of changes.
I think the good thing is, mate, that Maresco expected this. He's planned for this. He said from day one, when we were motoring after 5 or 10 games, don't expect this all season. It's not going to happen. We're going to lose games. You lose games. It's a long season. You're not going to go and win by 17 points. It's just not possible. If it happens, it's a fluke, but it's not. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Not in that level of football. When you look at the results at the weekend, I mean, I don't know whether you do the prediction thing. It's embarrassing, I think, because I tend to get one spot on, and then the rest. And you look at some of the results, you think, how could that result be? Southampton, they've lost 3 on the bounce, haven't they? I mean, they had a record number of wins and that. So how do you predict a result in the Championship?
Mate, I'm a
Oh,
pommy living in Perth. Love your shows. I have to go. Good show, Luke and Dave. Craig, thank
whereabouts,
you, man. I
Craig?
remember who you are now. Yeah, let us know because old mate's got some family here in Perth as well, so we're all connected.
Yeah. My daughter lives in Ascot, which is ironic because in the UK she used to live in Guildford, which is next to Ascot, I think, isn't it?
It is. Mate, thank you, Craig. Have a good day, mate. I really appreciate you tuning in, mate. You're a legend. Come on, Leicester, he says. Sorry, man, I've lost my train of thought now. What we're talking about.
Well, it'd be interesting because Craig was saying they're pretty quick up front, which they are. So perhaps it's best not to play Vestergaard,
No,
shoot his confidence, but or just to win the game. I mean, I think the rest of them are pretty quick. JJ's pretty quick, isn't he? I mean, maybe you know.
I think where we could get exposed by Bournemouth is the partnership between Doyle, who Doyle's been decent, but he's not nowhere near the same pace as JJ. But the partnership between him and that Marcel have been sketchy. Like
Yeah,
Marcel's left him like with his pants down a couple of times with
yeah.
his tracking back. So that's also why I think he hasn't got a run of games in the championship. But it's just, yeah,
They're
we'll,
being
we'll have to
caught
wait and
out,
see.
aren't they? Some of these lesser players, when they get the chance, they're not performing. And I think that's what this season has been about as well, judging who will and won't make it in the Premier League. And I think he's going to be a blooming good manager, Enzo,
I think
without
he
a
is too,
doubt.
mate.
And he can read players. He knows that people like Vardy are going to get injured, but he also knows that he can use Vardy because he's a loyal club member and he'll come on and do the job. I mean, just think if he'd had those chances against Leeds.
Oh,
I think
mate, like
I've seen him miss one chance this year, I think, and that wasn't the easiest one, but he don't miss that, does he? He wouldn't miss 2 on the trot if he had them.
I should
So
hope not,
yeah,
mate. He's I remember you talking now. Yes, you're right. Enzo, yes, I think he's going to be brilliant. He knows what he's doing. No one can win every single game of the season, and
no,
also the funny thing is that the Borough game was so much more frustrating. We lost that by a much less margin compared to the Leeds game, but we all felt like the Leeds game for 70, 80 minutes. Granted, football's 90 plus extra. We looked brilliant, but
yeah.
the Leeds fans will tell you otherwise. But whatever, that's football. But look,
Well,
I
sorry to interrupt you, Luke, but I put a post on because the Sky coverage was strange, and they all say the Leeds fans brought them through and did this, and you know the noise level was at its greatest. So I thought this could be interesting. So I put it on Facebook, LTID Facebook, and said the Leeds fans pulled them through at the end, and wouldn't it be nice if our fans did the same? We should see the abuse I got. And in fact, I said, I didn't even read it. I just keep getting things on my phone saying so and so's replied to your message, so and so's commented. Fuck it, I don't want to know. But my point was that the away fans, Leicester away fans, they are absolutely brilliant. There's no doubt about it. But at home, it's tough to get them going when things aren't going as well as they should be. And that's where I think Enzo was coming from when he said about if people don't buy into the way I want to play, I'm off. And that's what worries me. I know that Leeds fans were quiet for 80 minutes. And apparently, I know that it takes a goal for fans to get up, but wouldn't it be nice? My point was, it'd be nice to not have to have that goal. It'd be nice to keep at them all the time and you know, just encourage. That's what supporters are. We're supporting them, not bloody booing and you know. I don't get that at all. I've never
mate,
ever booed Leicester. I might have booed Rodgers a couple of times, but I've never booed Leicester because
we've all booed Rodgers.
Yeah, we have, haven't we? Because they want to win. The fact that either they're not good enough or they've had a tough game. We all have bad games, and we should forget it and just support them. And that was my point. But yeah, you got the Leeds fans abuse. I got the Leicester fans abuse.
I could never boo. I haven't been there. And I've heard the King Power's a bit of a library at the minute, but like I know the away fans are always great, but
Never used to be. It's the whole point. The King Power's rocking. Every time the commentator used to say, being there, it was great. But I don't know. We expect too much, probably. Which
yeah, I
is
think
probably the younger fans, because as an older fan, you never expect too much. You expect what you get and hope for too much. So that's the generational thing.
with a bottle job, yeah, always in the mind. It's
Don't say that to Chris.
Don't say that, Chris. You know what? Like, that's a fair point you mentioned there as well. But I think we've set the standards so high with our possession-based football, particularly winks and stuff. That like when one small thing goes wrong, we're so used to controlling and dominating a lot of these games. I don't mean to sound big-headed, but like you can hear the groans and stuff on the telly as well.
Yeah,
Like, but
yeah.
and it makes sense. But look, I always back my team no matter what. Look, Dave. I'll get you out of here, mate. You're going to give us a score prediction?
No. I'm rubbish at fantasy football this year. I'd like to think I can't remember us beating Bournemouth ever.
I think
Seriously,
that
I
was the
can't even.
game where tipped me and Chris over the edge. I think Chris, this is the game that tipped him over the edge at the end of last season. I'm pretty sure it is. I'll have to go
Yeah, it
back and
was,
watch.
wasn't it?
And I
Well,
remember, I remember freaking.
me and Brad had us in Europe last year on the predictions of the games. The games we should win and that, but yeah, it was pretty poor. But this year, we're doing great. We're top of the league. I wouldn't have cared if we're 1 point clear at the top this time of year. We're top of the league. We kind of didn't expect that, if we're honest. FA Cup, yeah, I suppose it is a bonus. Enzo secretly would say, well, if we lose, we can concentrate on the league. But I think the fans would love to get back to Wembley. And
Yeah,
I
I
reckon,
would love that.
is there extra time now? I can't even remember that anymore. Do we go straight into extra time or is it replays? Because we probably don't want to replay.
I think it is replays, to be fair. And
Is
like,
it? Yeah, I
I
know
tell
they
you what,
changed it somewhere, but I don't know. But I think we'll win 2-0.
2-0. Okay, look, I can see possibly if we do get a goal early or if we do start getting absolutely pumped, maybe he could do something similar that he did at the Birmingham game where he brought on the big guns and it made a drastic change, maybe the last half an hour. But I'm going to go for a Bournemouth win for 3 and for Leicester 2. I'm going to be sensible today and not use my heart. And I'm
Okay,
hoping
mate.
that
I use my
I'm
heart.
anti
Why not?
I'm I'm anti-jinxing us, okay? I'm taking one for the team for all of us. Yeah.
Well, I haven't put any money on us, so that's okay. Because last time I did, we got relegated. That's why I didn't bet on the 5,000 to 1. So
All right.
yeah, so
Thanks,
I
mate.
learned not to
We
bet
won
on it
because of Dave.
because I didn't bet. Yeah,
Every superstition counts.
I think so. Which sock did you used to put on first?
I always go left. And when
Yeah,
I
me
go to
too.
play five-a-side, I always have to step out of my car with my left foot first. I'm proper weird like that. I have all these weird things.
Excellent,
And the
excellent.
same parking spot, everything. I'm proper superstitious and weird things like that. Listen, thank you for joining, man. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Luke. Love to everybody
I
in Australia, especially Perth, especially Ascot. Yeah,
thank you, mate. And do
you
you want
take
to give
care.
everyone a shout where people can find you?
Well, I'm actually doing a breakfast show on Sunday morning again, filling in for a couple of our guys. So UK time 9 till 11, which Chris says is not breakfast, it's brunch. But it's called The Breakfast Show, 9 till 11, surreyhillsradio.co.uk. Listen live. You'll catch me being fairly sensible as it's a Sunday. Not.
And you can also find Dave at Leicester Till I Die TV. Brilliant channel with Chris and Brad and Kate. It's a really good
And
show. I
you?
really recommend, and me as well for that. But don't
Kate's
watch any
gone
of my
now.
content.
She's BBC now,
Oh
Kate.
my, Kate, she's a celebrity now.
I haven't heard
Yeah.
it yet. last night, wasn't it? Was it last night?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll send it to you after. She just sent it to me, but apparently she's done
Okay.
really well, and I'm looking forward to listening to that tomorrow at work. And
We'll have to bow down to her next
yeah,
time.
yeah. Thank you for your presence, Your Highness. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Good to see you, mate.
Good to see you too, Dave. Everyone, thank
Yeah.
you. If you like this, like and subscribe. And if you don't want to, that's totally fine. Thank you for tuning in. I will catch you on the next one.